Hi everyone, coming to you today to talk about why opera conducting is its own genre and what makes it so special. You can find out more about opera conducting and introduction by my video series, and the link will be posted below. Opera conducting is really special for many reasons. So let's kind of go through the principal ones. One is it has the word. And unless you're doing choral conducting, which also deals with the word, in symphonic conducting, you don't have that. So if you're coming from the symphonic world, you're going to have to understand how it is to deal with interpreting the word, the language of the word itself, and what its musicality is, because of course all language has its own inherent musicality. So that's the first thing, dealing with the word. You may or may not have had to work with language before. The second one is the theater. Just because you've done choral conducting, for example, you've worked with the word, but maybe you haven't worked with theater. You have to do all kinds of different and special and modified choices and suggestions when you're working with the theater. So there's theatrical staging, there's dramatic pause, there's so many things that make a great opera show that you have to understand and deal with in opera conducting as opposed to other genres. Then the third aspect is the types of people that you're working with. You're working with a much more varied and mixed group of people. You have not only your musicians, your orchestral musicians, you also have your lyric singers, you have your backstage crew, you have your director, your stage director. And by the way, this is another thing, you are not entirely running the show. It's a much more collaborative effort when you are working in an opera field, because you have to marry what's going on stage, what's going on in the libretto, as well as the purely musical aspects of it. So it's a different way of working with many more people who all have more discrete functions. So that's another important difference. And then also a physicality of conducting in an opera pit. You are literally working in two different realms simultaneously. So you have what's going on in the pit, which is lower usually than where the conductor is, and then there's what's going on stage, which is usually higher than where the conductor is. So also on a purely physical aspect, that is going to be different from conducting, for example, choral or ballet. You might have the same kind of situation where you do have above and below because you're working on stage and you've got people in the pit. But symphonic conducting, you're not going to have that. So these are some of the principal ones. And of course, because you're working in a physical space that's dual, your functions of your hands are also going to change. You might want to prefer to have one hand be primarily for the pit, so lower bass for your hand gestures for that hand, as opposed to the other hand, which you'll reserve for on stage, which will have a higher bass. So we talk about that more also in the video series. So keep those questions coming. Thanks so much, and let's see each other next time.